Greetings. Hello, everyone. I am Dr. Noni Davis, and I'm trying to just get this set up a little bit better here. And I am coming to you from North Carolina, Sya Academy. We're in our summer session. Um, this week I celebrated last week on the 22nd, I celebrated my 65th birthday. So I'm giving thanks to the Creator, to the Most High, for 65 years on this planet. And let's see, and also to my parents and my family, and just I'm just thankful for everything, for everybody. This is also a day of anniversary of my son's tragic transition, and so it's a compilation of emotions. I'm also expecting my another grandbaby from my youngest son to be his firstborn, and so life is life, and I'm just excited to be here. And so, give thanks. And so, this is the last day of June, and I have been, like I said, I've celebrated my birthday, my 65th birthday, and I give thanks. But I wanted this whole month, I've been focusing on events that happened in June. And because I guess like this, I be politicking here, I found two events that were related. They're civil rights legislation or civil rights personalities that had a significant impact on segregation in the United States. Um, so the first one is Mary Church Terrell, and I don't know. I'm sure a lot of people have heard of Mary Church Terrell. This lady was something else. She's the reason why. Well, she started uh, Frederick Douglass's. She was the one who started a celebration of Frederick Douglass's birthday in Washington D.C., which was he believed he was born on February 14th because he said his mom always called him her Valentine's baby. So he really didn't know the exact date, but he said, let's say the 14th. So she said, well, let's just honor him. And so his birthday every year. So she started this holiday for Frederick Douglass. And then later on, Dr. Carter G. Woodson came along and said, well, look, let's just turn it into a week. And that's how we got Negro History Week. And so now, of course, it later, I think because of Jesse Jackson, it turned into Black History Month. And now we just like Black History 365. I think I've heard a couple people say that. I'm not sure who started it, but that's where I live in that space. But Mary Church Terrell was the first person to get I think a holiday for Black people. And even though Frederick Douglass's birthday, it's still celebrated in February, but it wasn't a national holiday. But we got a whole month, and it was all because of this lady, Mary Church Terrell. She's the one that got that thing started. Well, the other thing she got started was she was also very determined to end segregation. And she lived in D.C., Washington, D.C., and she was like, we got to get rid of this. How we having segregation in the capital, in the District of Columbia. So she said, she'd been working at Dunbar High School, and as she was a teacher, she was over there with Dr. Carter G. Woodson, and that's how a lot of this stuff got started. But on June 8th, 1953, Mary Church Terrell started an anti-segregation campaign, and her hard work paid off. On June 8th, 1953, the Supreme Court, with an 8-0, it was a unanimous decision, got rid of segregation in Washington, D.C. Now, Miss Washington, Miss Mary Church Terrell, was in her 80s when she said, I'm tired of being mistreated at these restaurants in Washington, D.C. I'm going to do something about it. So she must have started talking to people, and apparently she got the ear of Mr. Charles, what was his name? Charles Hamilton Houston. Charles Hamilton, Houston. And oh, I should have had a picture of him. I'm gonna find one while I'm talking, because that man too is a powerhouse. That man, oh my goodness. Um, but anyway, so he said, "Look, we've done some research over here at Howard, and we found out that they had this appeals act in 1872 to 1873. There was this thing called the Washington Acts, and it prohibited segregation in public spaces in the District of Columbia. So, mind you, this is 1853, and she was like, huh, or 1850 or whatever. So this is like 70, what is it, how many years? It was a lot of years, not quite 100, but maybe 70, 80 years since those laws were written. And they said, hey, these laws haven't been repealed. So they never, while people were not enforcing this desegregation law, the law was still on the books. And so she was like, oh, you ain't saying nothing but a word. Okay. So she got a group of people at the age of 87. Miss Mary Church Terrell said, Bet, let me go on in here and I'm going to get these people to, I didn't know I'm doing the wrong one. I want to get a group of my friends to go down here to this restaurant. So the restaurant they chose was the Thompson restaurant. Oh, let me go back to my pictures so I can show you the Thompson restaurant. So this was the Thompson restaurant back in the day. Thompson's Diner, Thompson's restaurant. And that's what it looked like back in the day. And so my girl said, let's go in here and let's request seating. When they got there, all they wanted them to do was say no. They did not have any intention of eating food. They already knew they're going to say no. So, and that's what they did. She was like, thank you very much. So then she went with her group of people and filed a complaint against them. She served as a chair on Washington's coordinating committee, which fought discriminatory practices. So she was informed by this guy, Charles Hamilton Houston, that the law was enforceable. So that's what she did. So then I'm trying to think, what did she do? With that action, Terrell and her friends launched a campaign to force the courts to revisit the 1872 and 1873 Washington desegregation, Lord have mercy, Washington desegregation acts, and by protesting. And they also boycotted. And then they tried to make it an economic issue by saying, hey, we're going to make sure you lose money if you do not integrate these or desegregate your restaurants. And of course, so it escalated. Now, of course, you had the white nationalists, right? I'm not calling them Christians or these white segregationists, because they are not Christian. They're trash. Of course, the segregationists rallied behind the Thompson lobbying Congress. Lobbying Congress to side with Thompson and other pro-segregationist organizations. So, July 1950, the municipal court of DC decided, oh, she don't know what she's talking about. We're going to side with Thompson, claiming that the acts were obsolete. So 1872 and 1883, these were no longer valid, even though they hadn't been repealed or anything. But because there was some kind of restructuring of the city government, and by default, because they did not reinstate these laws or include these laws are no longer were valid. Okay. And they were automatically repealed. Now, on May 1951, they went to appeals court. And the appeals court found that the 1872 Act, well, maybe that was repealed, but the 1873 Act was still valid and favored the city. So now you've got this yo-yo thing. They had to keep going back and forth to appeal. Every time somebody got a decision, there was another appeal. And it ended up on April 30th in front of 1953 in front of the Supreme Court. So the Supreme Court took the case. Now, the Supreme Court determined that the lack of enforcement of this law, of this 1872 and 1873 law, doesn't mean that it was no longer enforceable. And they declared that, to assume that because there was a restructuring of the government, municipal government, which was eventually stripped of all of its power, did not mean that that law was repealed. This was a law that was created by Congress, and only Congress could repeal the law. So therefore, the law 1872 and 1873, stating that desegregation, that all businesses in DC had to be desegregated, was valid. And she was 90 years old. Mama Terrell was 90 years old when this decision was made. And this case eventually, because of her, she was one of those people who she started stuff and then it just went on. She because of her determination, the law eventually led to desegregation throughout Washington, D.C. So all institutions were forced to desegregate. And this was in 1953, like she was 90 years old. So what did she say? This is what I found this statement that she made. I will die happy to know that the children of my group will not grow up thinking they are inferior because they are deprived of rights, which children of other racial groups enjoy. At the age of 90, she was ecstatic to have not only the privilege, but also the right at last to be served anywhere in the nation's capital. Along with Hurd v. Hodge and Bowling v. Sharp, the case helped end institutionalized segregation all throughout Washington, D.C. So she was a catalyst. We just need to call her that. She was a person who could get stuff done, and she did. And so another significant event that happened was in June was the nomination of Thurgood Marshall. So to the Supreme Court, he was nominated on June 13, 1967, and he became the first African American to serve on the Supreme Court until 1991. And that was for 24 years. And so let me show, this is Thurgood Marshall. I got his picture right here too. Thurgood Marshall. Yes, everybody should know him. And he's a Cancer baby too. His birthday is July 2nd. And so that's Thursday. His birthday is Thursday. And let me see if I can find what's his name? Charles Hamilton. Houston. Here he is. Oh my goodness. Mr. Houston was not playing no games. That's Mr. Houston. So, Baba Thurgood Marshall was a legal warrior for African Americans. He was born in Baltimore, Maryland. His father, William, was a Pullman porter, just like my grandfather, and his mother was a teacher, like my mom. And both of them had very high expectations. And there is also legend that his great grandfather was a Congolese man who was able to self-emancipate. He freed himself at some point. So, but William and Norma Marshall had high expectations for him, and he graduated from Lincoln University in 1930 and attended Howard University Law School and graduated first in his class. And his mentor was the famous, like I said, Charles Hamilton Houston, who, oh my God, this man, they say he's the man who killed Jim Crow. This brother was not playing. And he was inspired by African American lawyers to become social engineers rather than just lawyers. He joined the NAACP and became chief legal counsel, and in that position, encouraged his staff to only litigate cases that would attack the institution of segregation. And in 1940, Marshall founded the Legal Defense Fund as an extension of the NAACP. So um, the same attorney who now Charles, I forgot, uh, Hamilton Houston was also the same attorney that told Mary Church Terrell about the 1873 Washington Desegregation Act. So he was instrumental in that case as well. And that one also, apparently, he probably took that one to the Supreme Court. He was probably one of the people who participated in that. I didn't find that out for sure, but I'm just presuming he probably was. Thurgood Marshall argued before the Supreme Court 32 times. And out of that 32, he won 29 of his cases. That is amazing. And one of the most famous cases was the 1954 Brown versus the Board of Education. Now, we got to go find my girl, Polly Murray, because she was the brains behind that one, right? Miss Polly Murray. Polly Murray is from right here in Durham, North Carolina. Beautiful lady she was. Okay, Polly Murray. Polly Murray, come on up. Oh, let me see. All right, Polly Murray. Well, that's her right there, Polly Murray. And so Polly Murray from Durham, North Carolina, was also a law at Howard University. Polly Murray is Durham, North Carolina's most famous civil rights leader, and provided the grounding strategy for dismantling separate but equal. Her position was grounded in the 14th Amendment clause that implied the right not to be set aside or marked with a badge of inferiority made segregation a violation. And so she wrote a whole paper on it. It was a discourse, and she believed that it would be the law that would destroy Plessy versus Ferguson. But she took that 14th Amendment, passed it on to Thurgood Marshall, and Thurgood Marshall's team used Polly Murray's argument to win the Brown versus the Board of Education court case. So we give thanks for Polly Murray, and she has a Polly Murray Center is located here in Durham on 906 Carroll Street. And I have not been over there yet. I have made several plans, but after doing this, I think I definitely will go over there, maybe do some more research about her, maybe present her in July. Another significant case won by Thurgood Marshall was Smith Allwright, 1944. States could not prohibit Black voters from primaries. And so imagine, we're right here. There's a lot of this legislation that gave us these rights that we have now were in the 1940s. I had no idea. He won that case, that no place in the United States could prohibit Black voters from voters from primaries. So we were able to choose our own candidates. Then in 1948, Shelley versus Kramer, he struck down race-based restrictive housing covenants. And so that meant that people would be able to, I'm assuming that these restrictive covenants were who could live in these communities, right? Who you could sell your houses to. And so he was instrumental in getting those down. So yeah, real estate, how they work to run with the land, meaning they are permanently recorded on a deed and by and offer future property owners, not just the original buyer. So, you couldn't, you can't, when you go into these HMOs, I guess no, is it homeowners? HO, is some kind of word. I can't remember what it is, but you cannot, you have to follow whatever they tell you about your what you can how you can paint your house, homeowners associations. That's what they are, and they tell you your grass can't be but so tall and all that foolishness. But he struck down race-based restrictive housing covenants, which meant that you couldn't sell your house to black people. So he got rid of that one. Then in 1950, Sweet versus Painter, separate facilities for black professionals and grad students became unconstitutional. So that meant that you could not have separate bathrooms, separate gymnasiums, separate swimming pools. You could not do that anymore, and so they were attacking separate but equal uh, on several levels. And so this one, 1940, 44, 1948, and 1950. Now, the other thing he did, now this was his first case. They said one of Thurgood Marshall's first legal cases that he won was against the University of Maryland. So apparently, the brother man wanted to go to law school, and he went to Howard University Law School, but he applied to the University of Maryland first. And they said, no, you can't come because you're black. And he was like, okay. He went ahead, and like I said, he graduated number one in his class at Howard University Law School and went on to win 29 of his 32 cases. They felt some kind of way. They should have let him. They can't take no credit for none of that. But he was refused because he was black. And so cancers, we're going to get our revenge. We may not go and, destroy your whole space, but we're going to sit back and wait for an opportunity. and so it will be a sneak attack. Sometimes best revenge is to be successful. And I think that he definitely proved that. You're going to wish that I had graduated from the University of Maryland. But anyway, so after he graduated first in his class at Howard Law School, he sued the University of Maryland's law school with the help of the great Charles Hamilton Houston, and won. And his lawsuit argued that the denial of admission based solely on race was a violation of the 14th Amendment. So now we understand why these white people are going so hard for the 14th Amendment. Because I'm like, what is their obsession with the 14th Amendment? The 14th Amendment, let me see if I can get the simplified version. They had the simplified version. 14th Amendment. All right. All persons born or naturalized in the United States and subject to the jurisdiction thereof are citizens of the United States and in the state wherein they reside. No state shall make or enforce any law which shall abridge the privileges or immunities of citizens of the United States, nor shall any state deprive any person of life, liberty, or property without due process of law, nor deny to any person within its jurisdiction the equal protection of the laws. And that's section 1. So section 2, representatives shall be apportioned among the several states according to their respective numbers, counting the whole number of persons in each state, excluding Indians, not taxed. Okay. But when the right to vote at any election for the choice of electors for president and vice president, the executive and judicial officers of a state or the members of the legislature is denied to any of the male inhabitants of such state, being 21 years of age and the citizens of the United States. And so we know that what happened, that was the 14th Amendment, but by the 19th Amendment, at least women could vote. Men could still vote, but you had to be 21 years of age. No person shall be a senator or hold any office, the validity of the public debt authorized bounties or whatever. Oh, but neither the United States nor any state shall assume or pay any debt obligation incurred in aid of insurrection or rebellion against the United States. Whoa. They just try to do that with the January 6th, or any claim for the loss of emancipation of any slave, but all such debts should be dealt with. Anyway, so this 14th Amendment, though, gives, I think I would say that the first part, oh, wait, what happened? Uh-oh. Oh, it went back. Okay, wait, no. Let me see. Hmm. No, what happened to my different things? All right, never mind. Maybe I don't need it. Anyway, so, um, but the main thing was that everybody has rights. Everybody, we're all citizens, and so we have rights. And so therefore, they could not um just uh what is it? These segregation laws were just definitely illegal because the 14th Amendment said we had rights. And so, and then with the 19th Amendment, when women could start voting, of course, it was mostly white women because it was the 1960s before black women, everybody was able to vote. But still, it was already provided in this 14th Amendment. Now, so Mary Church Terrell, who fought um, for Frederick Douglass Day, holiday in Washington, D.C. in February, which eventually led to the Negro History Week and evolved to Black History Month. And then all of that was through her work. And then we have Baba Thurgood Marshall and Baba Charles Houston and Polly Murray, who fought for our rights by challenging laws that violated the 14th Amendment. And now we know, like I said before, why MAGA will not win. MAGA is not going to win. And we have to just be, with the information that we learn, the more we know, the more we understand. These people were fighting, and at every stage of history, we have had these people, amazing people, who were determined to fight. They did not shrink back. They did not. They were intimidated, but they were like, and this is when they had no rights at all. That were respected. We have that Plessy versus Ferguson. Black men don't have any rights that any white man has to respect. That's where we were, and we still continue to fight. Now, people have mixed emotions about segregation or desegregation. Um, we lost a lot in desegregation regarding our um, autonomy, businesses, and things like that. And I think that if Trump hasn't shown us anything, Black people have said, you know what, I'm not anti integration. We have to be pro ourselves. You have to.
Gotta be pro ourselves, no doubt about that, and everything like that. We were actually talking on World Edition earlier this morning about because Jacoby was on there, and they were talking about the amount of immigrants that have come into the country, and right now it has been mostly white South Africans that have come in. Like I think there have been like 3 or 5 that were from brown and black countries and everything like that, but
Right,
mostly been
right.
folks that have been because they're afraid of because I think they said by 2040 or 2050 it'll be a majority minority nation. So, and I
Right.
know that Trump earlier today, and we were talking about that as well. He won that whole case around birthright citizenship and all along those lines. So it's folks
Mhm.
got to be
But he
diligent
lost
these
it,
days.
right? He lost it.
Yeah,
He lost the case, right?
I think he. Let me double check. I think he won that one because he
Oh
won
no,
some.
they said that. Oh, you're talking about the Supreme Court decision today?
Right, the Supreme Court decision.
He lost it. He
Okay, he
lost
lost it.
He
Yeah,
lost it. So we now, so they, I think that the Supreme Court is like, wait a minute, how much fighting do we want to do? But yeah, I'm just gonna confirm it, but because I thought that, yeah, that he lost. Okay, Supreme Court uh
birthright.
decisions today, birthright citizenship. I think, yeah, issued several rulings rejecting an effort to end birthright citizenship, permitting states, but they permitted states to ban transgender athletes from female sports,
Mhm.
striking down restrictions on political party
Because
candidates.
it says that he upheld birthright citizenship. So
Yeah,
he.
yeah, yeah. They upheld it, but the transgender athletes are still messy.
Yeah.
It allows Mississippi to count mail-in ballots received after Election Day. provided so they'll still be able to do their mail-in ballots. Um, and limited presidential power regarding agency commission removals and rule, let's see, require a Fourth Amendment
Yeah.
search warrant. So there's some things that we
Yes.
want,
Yeah.
but it was a mixed bag.
Yeah. Because I'm seeing. Yeah, it says it ruled that all children born in the United States are citizens, upholding what has been one of the country's bedrock principles for more than 125 years, and
Yeah,
handing President Donald Trump a loss on one of his top priorities. So, yeah, it definitely, Trump signed an executive order the first day of his second term that limited citizenship to children born to citizens or legal permanent residents rather than tourists or undocumented immigrants. But the High Court has interpreted the Constitution's 14th Amendment, ratified in 1868 and upheld in a
right,
ruling in
right.
1898, as granting citizenship to all babies born in the country, regardless of their parentage.
Hmm. And just imagine that
But
this is
after
the
the
same
ruling,
day. Yeah, but this is the same day I
Trump's already
wrote
trying to go
Thurgood Marshall.
to.
Huh?
Yeah, yeah,
What'd you say?
exactly. But Trump's already going into trying to fight him because it said after the ruling, Trump urged Congress to adopt his citizenship restrictions through legislation. So even though the Supreme Court ruled against him, now he wants
Yeah,
the legislatures to
but
back.
he can't. But he can't do it. So he just talking crazy. He can't do anything. They've already said no. And so he's
Yeah,
so stupid. But you know, the whole thing is that this is the reason why we can't be discouraged, because we got our ancestors been fighting this stuff, and like you said, is we have lessons we had to learn, right? The lessons are
oh yeah,
okay, so you're over here with these white people, um and it's not all white people, because I have friends that are white, but the thing is that we cannot throw away our stuff this time. You don't throw your own stuff away. Don't throw your we gonna need to have our own schools. We need to have our own banks. We gotta have our own institutions. Our children have to be trained. These people are trying to act like we ain't got no history. That we're second class citizens. Crazy talking about. I don't know if you saw that guy who was out there, and I know he's a plant. He's crazy, but he was out there with a sign at the BET Awards, and he had a big blue sign saying, um, "Black parents failed." What are you
oh wow,
talking about? He was on Instagram. I can't remember what his fool's name was, but he was out there, and he's been out at a couple places. I think he almost got his ass whooped up there by my friends up there in Michigan, Minnesota, someplace, because he was trying, and and he got chased into a car. But yeah, that fool, yeah, he was at the BET Awards, and people were
people were booing him.
the street, they didn't hurt him, but they were taking his signs and smacking him out of his hand. But the audacity to say black parents have failed. We don't have the highest rates of pedophilia.
Mm-mm,
We don't have the highest rates of mass murder. We
mm-mm.
don't have the highest rates of suicide. We don't have the highest rates of teen pregnancy. That's y'all.
Yeah, but they would have you believing that it's us.
Yes,
Even though, like you said, teen pregnancy is actually very high among the white population, but they would have you believe that
and it
it
does.
is the.
And it's
They would have you believe that it's the what do you call it, the project babies. And I'm not saying there aren't babies in the project, but there is a tremendous amount of babies that are white and everything like that. I know that even going around the bus, I see quite a few white mothers just as much as I see the black mothers.
yes,
So yeah, there's
yeah, and don't go to a state like Arkansas. I had my son was friends with this guy, and he said he was dating a girl in Arkansas. He said all of those white girls were pregnant,
I
and
believe it.
all of the and they're the ones on welfare.
Yep.
And so black people can if they're on welfare, they're getting $1,000. If we're on welfare, we get 100, 200. So we can't even get the money.
We can't
You
even get the
know,
money.
we can't even get the money. Oh, but I
Yeah.
did want to say, look, so my students, we published our first book. It's called
Oh,
Space
cool.
Invaders, and it's the story about that they wrote, and all of the illustrations are their illustrations, and I was able to finally get it printed, and so I'm really excited about this book, and finally
Sounds
get it
fun.
done. It's really cool. These are third graders, so it's hilarious too, because it's all their little worldview, but they're out here trying to save the world from climate change.
You got to save that world from climate change. Climate change is bad. You got to save the world from climate change.
Slow it down.
I
But
was
yeah,
watching something funny, and it doesn't have as much to do with your show because it's not as much Black history. But I was watching Little Opie, and it was funny because I was watching an old episode of Andy Griffin, and Andy Griffin was talking to, speaking of white folks and their attitudes and everything like that. He was talking to Barney because he just knew that Barney was a player and everything like that. So he was trying to figure out how he could tell his crush that he loved her and everything. And the crush actually turned out to be, I think it was Andy's girlfriend and everything like that. Because she was a teacher and everything
right,
like that.
right,
But he was like, how did you call it? So Barney was teaching them how to read poetry. To think that was Thelma Lou. So Barney was telling him how to read poetry to Thelma Lou. It was quite a funny episode and everything like that. Because I was just flipping through the old episodes and little Ronnie Howard, because he's an old man now and a director and done all kinds
right.
of stuff in Hollywood. But this was when he was little Opie, and he was Barney, I know that you got a lot of girlfriends. Can you tell me how I can get a girlfriend? And he was like, well, it depends on how you want to do it. Poetry works. And then he was telling him how to read a poem. And so he was reciting to it was like one of them classic comedies where he was reciting to Opie the lines, and then Opie was telling to the teacher. It was hilarious. It was hilarious. I was
Yeah,
cracking up.
no, children are comedians anyway. They're and if you just sit and let them go, and at least just in a creative space, you'll be
Children
amazed.
are natural comedians. I told you I've become addicted to this. I think it's Lex Scoop, but it's the New York Alley cats. But it's the cats that are actually, and I'm pretty sure it's a young woman that came up with this routine. But this cats that have this whole routine, they have gone and done a hot air balloon. One of the cats has gotten pregnant with another one of the cats, and they have gone and rated the milk of the cows because they want to get their own milk. So they took the hot air balloon to take it to the cow farm so they could literally milk the cow and everything like that.
Hilarious.
They Pet Smart only, they call it Pet Smart with CH instead of the regular way of smarting. They did the Trojan dog, so they put themselves in this Trojan dog and wielded it to the cat food store so they could steal the cat food or the cat dip. It's hilarious. I'm sitting there going like, y'all have too much good time on y'all's head coming up with these crazy routines.
But well, whatever makes people happy, as long as,
Exactly.
as long as we are pursuing freedom simultaneously, because we have to. But I think that we're learning. You can be your own person. You can love everybody, but you cannot abandon. And I really feel like our generation was probably the group of people. We went on into these spaces. We integrated these into these schools, and we were the ones that found out they're really not better than what we were having. We thought they were. We were told that they were, but they really weren't better. The schools were not better. They have more shiny objects.
And we've been finding shiny objects. I've actually got a white intern that's been helping me over at Haytime. We've been working for the last 2 weeks, and we found all kinds of artifacts. We found African statues. We found people's nameplates from when they were in office some 30, 40 years ago. We found entire pictures of the Blues Festival. We found that between the Brush Arbor and the church, there was a log cabin. So we found pictures of the log cabin. So there was actually a log cabin because, they bought the land, and then that would have been 1869, and then the church was built in 1891. So roughly around 1880, there was an in-between structure, and that was a log cabin. So yeah, there was a Hayti log cabin where they were having church service before they built the actual church.
Get out of town.
We found a picture of the log cabin, and we found a bunch of other images as well. So this is a 2 month project because we've even found entire photo exhibits and everything like that. But we're finding all kinds of fun stuff that was buried in the back. I mean, I think that we found already like 4 art exhibits. So I just sent an email to Diane to see if she's got the contact information for the artists and everything, because some of these artists were
Wow.
30 years ago and everything like that. But yeah, we found entire art exhibits. So,
That's crazy. That's awesome, though.
oh yeah.
That's awesome. And so, and then you learn about these people. Like, I mean, right now my kids are reading a book about Katherine Johnson.
No, we just found a picture about because that's what's hanging out on the wall now. There's a picture of young freedom fighters, and it was basically like we need to remember those that have sacrificed their lives. So it had pictures of the Kennedys, and I think Emmett Till and a number of other folks. But that's on the current exhibit that's at the Hayti right now, and we're going to go on a couple of week break, so it'll be up there for a while. But there was also a picture of Sojourner Truth, Harriet Tubman,
Wow.
and Laura Lytle, who I believe was a nurse or something like that. But there was a
Okay.
number of pictures of famous folks, and there's some that we only hung up about 8 or 9, but there are about 15 or 20 historical figures that were there that we can hang up later. But there are definitely some tied to Hayti, but somewhere like Sojourner. I think there was a picture of Frederick Douglass that we haven't put up yet, and everything like
Wow.
that. And there was a picture of W.E.B. Du Bois and a number of other folks that were there as well. So there was a number of famous historical pictures, and some of these are older frame photos.
Right. And see, man, our history is so deep,
Oh yeah,
and the people are so, the level of intelligence and determination and just fiery, and we we're like, we're not our ancestors, baby. You right. Because they
not
were
their
not
ancestors,
playing.
but we
They
got to
were
live.
not playing. We need to get out there in them streets like they were.
No, and we got to live there, kind of like we might be able to do the same struggles that they did, but we got to honor them and all along those lines. Because I think I told you that my grandmother, in addition to starting that first black library in Raleigh and everything like
Hmm.
that, the Richard B. Harrison Library, she went to Howard, I think for undergraduate, for her graduate studies. I want to say this was in the 40s. She went to Columbia. So imagine a little light skinned black woman going to Columbia and everything like that. But she was doing that at that time. So there were like folks that were even getting their education at a deep time of segregation, because this would have been like the
Right,
40s or
right.
the 50s.
And professors who probably didn't even respect you.
No,
Um,
no, sure.
so this story with Katherine Johnson, she's the one who, Cat made those math calculations for them to go into space, right? What's interesting about her is she writes that she, even being a teacher in during the 1930s and 40s was dangerous.
Oh,
um,
yeah, sure.
because teachers in schools were being blown up all the time, attacked, burned down, all uh, people's homes. I know there were teachers down. I think was it in Georgia or Mississippi somewhere
Mhm.
where teachers were the family's house was bombed, and when the children ran out, they shot them. We've had this legacy, but I hadn't heard someone actually say it was dangerous to be a teacher in this country back in the day.
Oh, yeah, it was very dangerous to be a teacher and everything like that. And we've had people that have sacrificed. I mean, we just lost a pioneer, and we were talking about him on one of my other shows, because I know they did a memorial for him about I think it was last weekend and everything like that. But I know that you were a fan of Minister Scott, and unfortunately, disease got to him and everything like that. But he was definitely a legacy warrior. He was trying to get books to our kids, and I know that some people are picking up the mantle and still trying to continue his brigade to get those books to those kids, even though he may have joined the ancestor grounds. There are a number of people that are trying to rescue him, and I mean not rescue him, but trying to continue his legacy and everything like
Yes,
that.
yes, and that's what we have to do. We have to do that. We have to make sure that we are continuing it in some shape or form. We may not be able to do it the same way they did it, but keep that same energy and make sure we do what we can. These kids that have to have these books, they have to read this history. They have to know it, and it needs to be as natural as breathing. Not, oh wow, I learned something new. I mean, they need to have an expectation. This is who we are. I don't have to be convinced. It's just who we are. It's just who we are.
Yeah.
But yeah. Anyway, but I'll probably be there next week. This week.
No, there's no class next week.
Oh, there's no class next week. Okay, so y'all are closed for 2 weeks.
Close to the 14th, but I got to open up for the church. But yeah, and I know we might allow y'all to have it on the 13th, because that's the day before class. But I know that we're definitely not going to have class on the 6th. I
Okay.
can't remember what I told Tony. So
Okay.
I know that I told Tony definitely no class on the 6th, but we may, because it's the day before we come back. So I'll talk to Tony, and we may have class on the 13th. Otherwise, it'll be the 20th.
Okay. Okay. Well, that's fine. Okay. I had planned to go yesterday, and
Right.
I can't remember even what. I think we got distracted. Something else something came up, but
Something's always coming
okay.
up.
Yeah. Well, I'm trying to get back into class. I'm trying to get myself back on that schedule. Um, like I said, today is the 30th. This is the day Micah transitioned, and so I think I was all, and that's probably some of it too. I was just not thinking clearly. But
Well,
anyway,
sometimes we get on our off modes and everything like that. Because I heard you said that, and I don't have any big plans. It'll just be another day because it's not a milestone. It's not a 5 or a 10. Now, my parents may decide to take me out, or I may decide to do something later and everything like that.
yeah.
But the big 6-4 is tomorrow, and I did hear you
Uh
say,
oh.
and I'm still going to do my show because it just happens to follow on 6-4, and
Yeah.
I already had guests lined up and everything like that. But I do hear you say that
They're
six
good.
they're good with July 2nd, and I got some friends that were June 30th. I think my friend Linda Sharon was
Yeah.
June 30th, and Toya Chinsu, who
Yeah.
is
Yeah. Yeah.
June
Yeah. That's what
30th,
your
and
birthday was
yes,
too. Yeah.
and I'm the first, and then I think Thomas I is the first, and I'm pretty sure that Gerard, because we call ourselves
Yeah.
birthday.
They're in the first week. He's at the beginning of the month. Yeah. That's
Yeah,
right.
that's correct. Thomas
Yeah.
I is July 1,
Mhm.
and then Gerard, who runs the John Coltrane Edutainment Festival in Hamlet, which
Yeah.
is the actual home of John Coltrane. So not the one in High Point, but the other one that's more grassroots
Ooh,
oriented. He does that one, and all
right.
along
Right.
that line. So I know his is July 1st because we'll sometimes go to the national, what's now the International Black Theater Festival. We'll sometimes go to that together, and then when he pops up at Hayti, and his daughter used to have an office at Hayti, he'll be like, "Hey, what's up, birthday twin?" Even though I think he's a few years older than me, because I think
Right.
Gerard might be, if I'm 64, Gerard might be hitting 68. So I think he's like a year or two older than
Yeah.
I am.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. Okay. So yeah. So you'll be 64 tomorrow then.
And I'll be 64 tomorrow.
Oh, okay. Hey. Hey. So I just turned it to on the 22nd. I kicked it off for it.
You kicked it off on the 22nd of June.
On the 22nd. Yeah. Yeah. That was my birthday week.
Cool. Well, I
Yeah.
believe in celebrating all week long. So, like I said, even if I wind up doing nothing but chilling in my podcast on the first, I'll probably do something on either the second or
Yeah.
the third. Because the joke
Yeah.
that I used to have is, they're not doing it this year because of Chantel last year and everything. But for decades, I used to do the Eno, and the Eno would usually be the 1st of July and then the 4th of July, whatever,
Oh,
however
are
the
they
fourth.
having it?
They're not having it this year because of Chantel. They're
Oh.
going to have it in September, so it won't be at the Eno this year. But in the past, while I was doing my MCing, I would tell the audience that thought they were there to celebrate the country's birthday, but they were really there to celebrate my birthday.
How
So,
about that? How about that?
yeah, y'all thought y'all were here to celebrate the independence and whatever anniversary we were
Yeah.
celebrating, and the Eno, and it's being a state park and everything like that. But
Mhm.
I just figured y'all all here for my birthday party. It's my big birthday party.
That's so funny. That is so funny.
Y'all brought me a bunch of artists. Y'all brought me, it's all the stuff that I'm into. Y'all brought me a bunch of artists. You brought me food, and you brought me like music. So it's all stuff that I'm into. So I just figured it was one big birthday party for me.
Hilarious. You're crazy.
Well, folks used to love when I would tell that joke because I would tell
Yeah.
it several times at the and I would sometimes do it as elaborately as I'm doing it now, and sometimes it would be a light joke with
Yeah.
me just saying it's a birthday
Yeah.
party. But then people would come up and they'd be like, "Mark, we're here to celebrate your birthday." I'm like, "I know."
Oh, yeah, well, that goes without saying.
I'll probably say the same thing, even though I'm not emceeing it. I did see that on the 4th of July, because there won't be the but the 4th of July, I think Central Park is doing one of those food truck rodeos. So
Oh,
even though I'm not emceeing it, I'll probably just go down there and have some food. And while I'm having food, I'll be like, "Y'all think y'all are here to have a food truck rodeo at the 4th of July? It's really Mark's birthday party.
you're gonna make it. You're gonna make it about you one way or the other. It's too close to your birthday.
My birthday party."
That's crazy. Yeah. That's good. My grandbaby is due anytime now, so she will. We're waiting for her. Her due date is July 8th.
Well,
So
see,
anytime this week, she'll be right
my
down.
dad had the same advantage. It was kind of your advantage because I think you said your birthday was recently and everything, but Dad's birthday was on the 20th, and as you know, the 21st was Father's Day. So
Yeah.
Dad had that same thing. He got to celebrate two holidays. Oh, it's even worse because I think his birthday was on the 20th. Um, his his birthday was on the 20th. Father's Day was the 21st, And the Friday before that, which would have been like the 13th, was his oldest, because he only got two, because I don't have any kids, so it's his oldest grandson's graduation. So
Okay. Oh wow, he's been
one big party because he had graduation on the 13th, his birthday on the 20th, and Father's Day on the 21st. Because I think on the 21st they went to an escape room, and I was working, so I couldn't go. But and plus, I'm not a father. But they went to celebrate Father's Day at an escape room. I think it was the Submarine Escape Room, which is there's several escape rooms downtown. But they
wow, I have never heard. Okay, I'm gonna have to check that out. Anyway.
Yeah, escape rooms are like big puzzles, so they give you like a room that you have to escape, and you have to use your brains to escape it. So I think there's different ones. I know there's one that's a submarine escape room. I think there's one that might be set like in a ancient time and stuff like that. So they give you clues, and then you just have to escape the escape room. But they're like virtual reality kind of rooms.
Okay. Oh Lord. Well, I got another appointment, but
well,
look,
we're going to get out of here with the commercial for Captain's book and your and Saint Sya, but we'll go out with Captain's book and Saint Sya. But yeah, get to your next appointment.
All right, thank you. All right, peace.
They were never supposed to win. In a system built to keep Black families landless, one decision changed everything. Bitter Ground's Inheritance tells the true story of heirs who fought through Jim Crow, courts, challenges, and silence to claim land, wealth, and legacy. Told by descendant Captain Newborn, this is more than a story, it's a rare victory. A must-read that exposes America's hidden past. Get your copy today.
Recognize the excuses are not valid. They're conjured up, they're fabricated, they're lies. And how do you stop the lies? You stop the lies with the truth. And the truth is, you have time. You have the skill, you have the knowledge and the support and the willpower and the discipline to get it done.
The fruit of everything good in life begins with a challenge. Everything is uphill this world. And it's not going to come to you, and it's not going to fall in your lap, and it's not going to be something that, oh my God, it just was so simple. It's always going to be difficult.
If you want it, you gotta go get it.
This is your chance. This is your shot. This is your moment. This is your time. This is your place. This is your opportunity.
This is my time. This is my moment. Tomorrow. Ain't no such thing as tomorrow. We only got today. It's your dream. If you want to have it, get your butt up and make it happen. If you want to have it, rise and grind. You still got work to do. Stay on that basketball court. Stay on that football field. It's grind season, homie.
This is your time to get what you want. Go work that thing with Work That Thing supplements.
I'm a St. Sya student. Of course I walk into the sound of drums.
I'm a St. Sya student. Of course I know my mom.
I'm a St. Sya student. Of course I can play the drums.
I'm a St. Sya student. Of course I can work with my hands.
I'm a St. Sya student.